Hello, beautiful friends. Welcome back to the channel. Have you ever stood in front of a mirror and wondered when exactly your reflection stopped feeling like you? Not because of wrinkles, not because of age, but because somehow what you're wearing doesn't match the woman inside anymore. There was a morning, quiet, just me and the mirror. I reached for a blouse I used to love. Soft cream, a little shimmer, gentle on the skin. I slipped it on and took it right back off. It wasn't the blouse that had changed. It was me, and I didn't know how to dress her anymore. For a long time, I thought that was normal. Just wear what's comfortable, I told myself. But deep down, I missed feeling beautiful. Not flashy, not trendy, just quietly, effortlessly me. Here's what no one really says out loud. After 60, clothes don't just cover us. They carry our stories. And sometimes we stop dressing, not because we don't care, but because we're afraid of being seen. We don't talk about that quiet fear that if we try and get it wrong, if we put on something bold or soft or unfamiliar, it might whisper that our best years are behind us. But I don't believe that. Not for a second. And today, I want to show you why. In this video, I'm sharing 6 blouse styles that help women like us feel young, elegant, and beautifully at ease, without chasing trends and without spending more than you need. You can try them with what you already own, or discover something new that doesn't cost more than dinner for 2. Because elegance is not about price, it's about presence. These aren't just tops, they're tools. Quiet, powerful ways to express your grace, your wisdom, your softness. And they come from real stories, real women, not magazine covers. And stay with me till the end, because the final blouse, it's one a woman wore to her granddaughter's wedding, but she found it in a thrift store for $7, and it changed everything. Before we begin, may I ask you something gently? Where are you watching from? And are you wearing anything today that makes you feel just a little more like yourself? Maybe it's a scarf. Maybe it's a shade of lipstick you used to love. Or a blouse you haven't worn in years, but still keep close. Leave a comment if you'd like. I read every word. And sometimes your story is exactly what someone else needs to hear today. So let's begin with one blouse that reflects the light and just might help you find yours again. Blouse. 1. The silky button-up. Have you ever worn something that made you stand a little taller without even realizing it? Like the fabric itself whispered, "You're still radiant, even before you looked in the mirror?" Martha was 64 when she found hers. A dove gray silky button-up tucked quietly between jackets at a local consignment shop. $12. Gently worn, with pearl buttons and a soft drape. She almost didn't try it on. She hadn't worn anything shiny since her husband passed. But something about the way it caught the light felt hopeful. That Sunday, she wore it to brunch alone, for the first time in over a year. She said she didn't expect much, just coffee and quiet. But as she passed the hostess stand, a woman looked up and smiled. "You glow," she said. And for Martha, that changed everything. Silky or satin blouses are little miracles for mature skin. They reflect light instead of absorbing it, which means they soften shadows, fine lines, and even the tiredness we sometimes carry. Choose a soft sheen, not high gloss. Look for polyester satin, modal blends, or washable silk alternatives. And choose colors that lift you: ivory, blush, soft bronze, powder blue. These tones don't overpower, they illuminate. A silky button-up drapes with ease. It doesn't cling like jersey or squeeze like shapewear. Tucked into soft trousers, half tucked with jeans, or worn loose over a skirt, it creates a line that flatters without forcing anything. But the real reason this blouse matters isn't the shine. It's what it reminds us. Softness is not weakness. At this age, many of us were taught to blend in, to become neutral, quiet, invisible. But satin asks nothing of you, except to show up, to let the light touch your skin. And sometimes, to believe you still deserve to glow. A 2021 study in the Journal of Aging and Identity found that 68% of women over 60 said wearing light-reflecting fabrics made them feel more like themselves again. Not younger, just more true. That's not fashion. That's healing. Is there something in your closet, maybe with a little shimmer, that you've tucked away, not because it's wrong, but because you forgot what it felt like to shine? Not all fabrics are loud. Some whisper. And next, we'll meet one that breathes with you quietly, like a deep, easy exhale. Blouse 2. Linen. V-neck tunic. Do you remember the last time your clothes felt like a kindness? Diane was 67 when she gave up on anything that pinched. After her second hip surgery, even soft jeans felt like armor. During a visit to her sister's house in Santa Fe, she pulled on a pale green linen V-neck tunic, borrowed from a hall closet and barely worn. It wasn't glamorous, but something about the way it moved when she walked, the way the neckline let her lift her chin, made her feel at ease in a way she hadn't in months. That afternoon, she sat on the porch, drinking iced tea and watching the wind move through the trees. I didn't want to leave that chair, she said, or that blouse. Linen has a quiet intelligence. It breathes, it floats. It doesn't demand attention, but it earns it. When blended with rayon or viscose, it becomes even softer and less prone to wrinkles, while still holding that signature flow. The V-neck is not just flattering, it's uplifting. Literally. It elongates the neckline, draws the eye up, and opens the chest. And the tunic shape, oh, it forgives in the most beautiful way. It says, I see you. You're allowed to take up space. Style it loose for grace, belted for shape, or layered under a lightweight cardigan. It's as versatile as it is merciful. Here's something I didn't expect. Diane wore that same style, in soft lavender, to her first watercolor class after her husband passed away. She stood at the easel, brush trembling in her hand, and said something I've never forgotten. I thought I had to wait until I felt better to dress up again, but maybe this is how I heal. That's the moment I realized. Some fabrics don't just clothe us. They gently pull us forward. According to a 2020 survey from the American Society on Aging, nearly 70% of women over 60 said they felt most like themselves when wearing soft, breathable fabrics that don't fight the body. Not expensive, not trendy, just kind. So let me ask you this. What's one piece in your wardrobe that helps you breathe easier, physically and emotionally? Some blouses aren't about style at all. They're about surrender. And next, we'll meet a piece that doesn't just surrender, but softly reminds you still have shape worth honoring. Blouse. 3. The feminine wrap blouse. Some clothes shape more than your body. They shape how you carry your story. Margaret always wore loose tops, and she kept them, row after row, soft and shapeless, in her closet. But after turning 65, something in her shifted. Her daughter invited her to a garden party, and Margaret didn't want to blend into the lawn chairs. She tried on a wrap blouse in soft plum. It hugged her waist, skimmed her chest, and gave her shape she hadn't seen in years. But then came the voice in her head. At your age? She almost took it off, but her granddaughter walked in, smiled, and said, "You look like you." And so, Margaret wore it. She didn't sit in the corner that day. She stood tall, laughed louder. She was home in her own silhouette. That's the quiet magic of the wrap blouse. It flatters without forcing. The diagonal line cinches at the waist, subtly, gently, and creates a natural hourglass shape without any squeeze. Look for styles with side ties or inner buttons so you can adjust the fit to your comfort. Choose soft fabrics with a bit of drape, matte jersey, modal blends, even lightweight cotton. Rich tones like emerald, teal, and deep rose add depth to your complexion and a sense of quiet confidence. Pair it with jeans for brunch or with tailored trousers and soft gold jewelry when you want to feel just a little more polished. But here's what I've learned. This blouse isn't about vanity, it's about visibility. As we age, the world tells us to disappear a little, to cover up, to soften down. But the wrap blouse says otherwise. It doesn't hide your curves, it honors them. It doesn't demand attention, but it reminds you still have shape worth holding. A 2019 study in psychology of aging found that women who wore clothes that defined the waistline, even subtly, reported higher levels of body satisfaction and emotional energy than those who wore oversized clothing. The conclusion? Feeling seen by yourself is a quiet form of strength. So here's something to reflect on. Is there a part of your body you've hidden, not out of shame, but out of habit? And what might it feel like to wrap yourself in softness and say, this too is me? Not all structure is stiff. Some brings you back to center. And in our next blouse, we'll meet a colorless classic, reimagined with light and life. Blouse. 4. Structured white blouse. Do you have a blouse that once meant something and now just waits, folded and forgotten? Once upon a time, Linda always wore white blouses. Every Monday was starch and steam. She liked the structure, the crispness, the way a collar framed her face like punctuation. Every day, she buttoned one up before heading to the school where she taught second grade. It was part of her armor. Then one day, she retired. The hallway bell stopped ringing. The stacks of graded papers disappeared. And so did the reason to dress up. Because of that, the white blouses were pushed to the back of the closet. Too formal now, she told herself. Until finally, on her 70th birthday, her daughter handed her a box. Inside, a white blouse, just like the ones she used to wear, but softer, slightly puffed sleeves, a pleated neckline, a curved hem that moved when she did. Linda tried it on, looked in the mirror, and said softly, "This isn't the old me. It's the version I've grown into." The white blouse has always been a classic, but when reimagined with gentle detail, it becomes a quiet signature. The secret is in the structure, not stiffness, but intention. Look for cotton poplin, cotton satin, or viscose blends that hold their shape while feeling smooth on mature skin. Small design upgrades, like a sculpted collar, pleated shoulder, or high-low hem, can turn a basic into something personal. And don't underestimate the power of color. True white, ivory, or soft cream reflect light onto your face, giving the skin a gentle lift and a fresher tone. But beyond fabric, this blouse carries something deeper. For many women, white was once about proving something, professionalism, preparedness, perfection. But after 60, it becomes something else. Clarity, ease, a kind of personal reset. Wearing white again, on your own terms, can feel like saying, "I've done the hard work, now I get to show up just as I am." A study published in Color Research and Application found that older adults perceive themselves as more confident and emotionally calm when wearing white or light neutrals, more so than darker tones. It's not about standing out. It's about standing honestly. So, I wonder, what would it mean for you to wear white again? Not for a meeting, not for someone else, just because you wanted to feel clear, fresh, present in your own reflection. Some garments don't change who you are. They just help you see yourself clearly. And next, we'll meet a blouse that doesn't need buttons or collars. Just warmth, just comfort, just the kind of softness that says, you still belong here. Blouse 5, soft knit sweater blouse. Do you have a top that feels more like a hug than an outfit? Elaine never let anyone see her arms. For years, even in 90-degree summers, she wore cardigans. She said they felt like protection. But last spring, her granddaughter invited her to a small outdoor wedding. It was 85 degrees. The only clean top that fit was a soft knit sweater blouse. 3/4 sleeves, delicate boat neck, the color of faded rose. She hesitated, tried it on, then took it off, then on again. Finally, she walked out the door. At the wedding, a friend hugged her and whispered, "You look so relaxed." Elaine blinked. No one had used that word about her in years. And when she looked at the photos later, she didn't see her arms. She saw her smile. Soft knit blouses or lightweight sweater tops are one of the gentlest ways to look elegant without trying. They offer light structure, but never cling. The fabric skims rather than grips. Look for modal, viscose, or cotton blends in fine gauge knits. These feel like cashmere, but don't come with the price or the dry cleaning. Choose mid-tone colors like dusty lavender, warm mocha, soft rose, or teal. Avoid heavy cable knits or bulky shapes. The magic is in the softness, the kind that flows when you move and breathes when you sit still. Here's what I've learned. Sometimes we say we want comfort, but what we really crave is ease. Comfort hides. Ease opens, and the soft knit blouse doesn't hide anything. It simply invites you to stop racing, to stop fixing, to stop editing yourself in every mirror, because there's a quiet power in being at home in your body, even when the world tells you to shrink. In a 2021 report from the Journal of Mature Style, researchers found that older women who chose knits over rigid shapes were more likely to describe themselves as content, grounded, and more likely to engage socially. Turns out softness doesn't isolate us, it frees us. So I'd love to know, do you have a blouse or sweater that you reach for when you want to feel most like yourself? Not every outfit has to make a statement. Some just help you settle into who you are, with grace. And next, we'll step into something a little more playful. A blouse that doesn't hug the body because it was made to dance with it. Blouse 6. The boho-inspired peasant blouse. Do you remember the last time a piece of clothing made you want to twirl? Kathy stopped wearing anything flowy after she turned 60. She said it felt too young, too loud, too not her anymore. Her closet turned neutral, structured, sensible. But after a year of grieving her husband, something inside her began to ache, not just for color or comfort, but for movement. One morning, while browsing a little boutique in Sedona, she ran her hand over a soft cotton peasant blouse. Light sage green with subtle embroidery at the neckline and airy sleeves that moved when she breathed. She didn't buy it, not that day, but it stayed in her mind like a song. A week later, she went back, tried it on, and wore it, of all places, to the grocery store. A stranger stopped her in the produce aisle and said, "That blouse looks like freedom." Kathy smiled and replied, "That's exactly how it feels." Boho-inspired peasant blouses aren't just romantic, they're remarkably forgiving. They allow space. Space for breath, space for aging bodies, space for emotion. The key is in the fabric. Choose breathable blends like cotton, rayon, or viscose. Look for soft earth tones or washed pastels, sage, cinnamon, antique white, dusty mauve. These colors feel grounded, never costume-like. Details matter too. Pin tucks, subtle embroidery, flutter sleeves. Avoid anything overly frilly or stiff. The right blouse should move with you, not cling, not hide, just float. There's something deeply healing about wearing a garment that doesn't define you by shape, but by spirit. At this stage in life, we've worn clothes to impress, to perform, to hide. The peasant blouse asks nothing from you but to be. It moves when you move. It softens when you pause. It reminds you that softness and strength aren't opposites, they're companions. According to the Age and Dress Project by Dr. Lauren Riley, women over 60 who incorporated flowy silhouettes into their wardrobes reported a 32% increase in emotional well-being and a restored sense of self-expression. One participant simply said, "It gave me permission to be joyful again." So let me ask you gently, what piece in your closet still makes you feel light on your feet? Not because it hides you, but because it frees you. Not every blouse needs a message. Some just need movement. And when that movement matches your rhythm, something soft inside begins to return. And now, as we close this journey of 6 quiet blouses, we'll take one final breath together to reflect not on style, but on the woman you've always been and still are, beneath it all. Bonus, the fit, the posture, the presence. Have you ever put on the right blouse and felt like something inside you just clicked into place? Joan had a blouse she adored. Pale blue, silky, not too shiny. She wore it to dinners, book club, even to her grandson's graduation. But lately, she said, something feels off. It wasn't the blouse. It was the fit. Her shoulders had softened. Her shape had shifted. She still loved the blouse, but it no longer loved her back. So, one afternoon, she took it to her local tailor. $10 later, it fit again. Not tighter, not smaller, just right. When she put it on, she didn't just look good. She stood taller. And that made all the difference. Fit is the secret no one talks about. You don't need a whole new wardrobe. You just need your clothes to know your shape. A $15 blouse can look like a $200 designer piece if it's tailored for you. Shorten the sleeves, drape the waist, take in the sides. These tiny adjustments do more than flatter. They honor the woman you are right now. Not the version you were 10 years ago. Not the version you feel pressure to become. And posture? It's not just about how you carry your body, it's how you carry your presence. Shoulders back, chin forward, feet grounded. The world sees it before you say a word. It doesn't cost a cent, but it adds value to everything you wear. Add to that a touch of grooming, a softened neckline, a little lip color, skin that's cared for, not hidden, and you become the frame that holds your own portrait. In a 2022 Aging and Confidence study, researchers found that mature women who tailored just 3 to 5 items in their wardrobe, practiced posture daily, and simplified their accessories reported a 40% increase in how elegant and expressive they felt, even without buying anything new. Sometimes presence has nothing to do with what you own. It's how you show up in it. So let me ask you now, what's one item you already love, that might just need a small tweak to feel like it truly belongs to you again? Elegance is not an expense, it's a decision. And sometimes the most powerful change isn't what you wear, but how you wear it. Now, let's take a breath together and return to where we began. Not in a closet, but in a quiet truth. You were never dressing for the world. You were dressing to remember yourself. We didn't just talk blouses today. We talked about returning to yourself. Through color, through fabric, through quiet choices that remind you who you still are. We talked about softness that doesn't hide you, structure that honors you, and clothes that do more than dress you. They remember you. Maybe tonight you'll reach for one blouse in your closet, not to impress anyone, not for a meeting or an occasion, just to remember, to stand in the mirror and see not what's changed, but what's still here. And I'd love to know, which one spoke to you most today? Was it the silky one that caught the light? The linen tunic that let you breathe? The knit that felt like a hug? Share in the comments. I read everyone. And your story might be the gentle nudge someone else needs to wear themselves again. If this felt like someone finally understood your rhythm, I'll be right here. Closet open. Kettle on.